This is actually the first time that I've ever seen that in a dry food. Tribal is a British company. They get their cold pressed foods like this one made over in the Netherlands. So I'm holding the senior light, but actually everything that I say applies equally well to the adult varieties. They are very, very similar formulas. Like a lot of cold pressed foods, it does struggle a bit with its meat content. The reason being for that is that it uses quite a high proportion of fresh meat. And while fresh meat is a really good nutrient dense ingredient for dogs, it does contain quite a lot of moisture, about 2/3, and during the cold pressing almost all of that moisture is lost, reducing the overall percentage of meat quite considerably until you've only got about 1/4 of the finished product as meat. So accounting for the moisture loss, the lion's share of this food is going to be sweet potato. Now sweet potato is definitely a great ingredient, but we're probably looking at about half of the food, half of the finished product being sweet potato, which is quite high. Looking at the rest of the ingredients list, we've got beet pulp, that's in there for the fiber. We've got carrot, brewer's yeast, that's in there for the B vitamins primarily. It's good to see salmon oil. There's a herbal blend, I mean parsley, rosemary, nettle. There's some nice ingredients there, but it doesn't come with individual percentages, so a little bit difficult to tell if that's going to be particularly beneficial for your dog. One thing that does actually stand out about Tribal is the sheer amount of glucosamine and chondroitin they use. These are joint supplements. Now usually when you do see them in a dry food, there's sort of just a token amount, enough so that they can put it on the ingredients list, but too little to really make a big difference to your dog. But it has to be said that in Tribal, that's not the case at all. Even in the regular adult version of the food, there's nearly 1,000 milligrams per kilogram of glucosamine, and about half of that are chondroitin. Now, although that's not quite as much as vets would recommend for managing your dog's joint problems, it's more than halfway there in the case of the glucosamine. So, a really big dose on a daily basis. But in the senior variety, where you're most likely to find joint problems, it goes all the way up to 2,000 milligrams per kilogram, which is actually more than vets recommend. This is actually the first time that I've ever seen that in a dry food. So, kudos to Tribal on that front. So we scored Tribal fresh pressed adult at 68% and the senior light slightly higher at 70%. Costs about $133 to feed an average adult or senior 14 kilo dog. The reason it doesn't score higher, as we said, is the relatively low amount of meat in the finished product, but it's not a bad food in any respect.